Okay, let's dive right into this. You know, when you look at a green leaf, whether it's on a giant oak tree or just a little houseplant sitting on your windowsill, it seems perfectly still, right? Almost like it's doing absolutely nothing. But biochemically speaking, it's actually outperforming our absolute most advanced technology. I mean, plants operate with this insane level of quantum efficiency that makes human-made solar panels look, well, practically primitive. Welcome to this explainer. Today, we're exploring the Emerald engine, the alchemy of photosynthesis. We're going to look right under the hood of this incredible, magical, glowing biological engine. We're exploring the exact mechanics of how life sustains itself by literally eating sunlight.
So, photosynthesis. It's the magical process by which plants create their own food using sunlight, water, and carbon dioxide. We all learned that basic definition way back in grade school, right? But to really grasp the sheer genius of the engineering at play here, we've got to bypass the basics. Imagine we're zooming way, way down, deep inside the surface of a leaf, to a microscopic world. Inside the plant cells are these structures called chloroplasts glowing with energy, and tightly packed within those are these complex, stacked structures called thylakoids. This right here is where the light-dependent reactions kick off. It's this ultra-dense, microscopic grid just primed and waiting to capture incoming photons the absolute second they dramatically strike the surface of the leaf. Now, to fuel this reaction, we start a phase I like to call gathering the elements. The plant essentially runs a highly sophisticated logistics network to grab what it needs. Take water, for instance. A plant doesn't just passively sit there and absorb it. No, it uses a process called transpiration to actually create negative pressure. Imagine a cinematic cutaway, where as water evaporates from the higher leaves, it creates this natural vacuum. It physically pulls new water molecules upward from the roots, right through the flowing soil, up through a network of tissues called the xylem. It operates just like a giant invisible straw, relying on capillary action to literally defy gravity and draw moisture all the way up to the canopy. It's wild. The plant also needs to pull carbon directly out of the atmosphere, and it does this through the stomata, these microscopic pores mostly located on the underside of the leaves. Now, what's really interesting to see here is how this isn't just some open window. It's a highly regulated biological valve. Picture the smooth motion of tiny carbon dioxide gas particles slipping inside. These pores are controlled by specialized guard cells that are constantly swelling and shrinking, reacting to the environment around them. They have to execute this absolutely perfect balancing act, opening just wide enough to ingest that carbon dioxide while keeping the risk of losing too much internal moisture to the outside air as low as possible. But here is where it gets really exciting. Sunlight provides energy. The actual ignition of this entire system comes directly from solar radiation. Think about it, brilliant rays of sunlight, photons that have traveled across the vacuum of space, finally hitting the leaf. They penetrate down into the thylakoids and bam, they strike the chlorophyll molecules. This impact physically excites the electrons within the chlorophyll to a significantly higher energy state, making those green molecules glow with this intense, realistic energy. That microscopic excitation, that is the literal spark of life. The plant is capturing raw solar radiation and instantly converting its kinetic energy into the chemical potential that drives the rest of this whole biochemical assembly line. The conversion that follows is an absolute masterclass in organic chemistry. It's like watching a cinematic molecular transformation where the plant acts as a master alchemist. On the left, you've got the raw ingredients, water and carbon dioxide. Using that captured solar energy, the plant executes a process called photolysis. It's literally using light to crack water molecules completely apart. It strips away the electrons it needs to function and then uses that kinetic energy to power what's called the Calvin cycle. This is the heavy manufacturing phase. It takes the carbon dioxide it breathed in from the sky, forges it together with the remaining hydrogen, and constructs the life-giving gold you see on the right, highly complex, energy-rich glucose molecules. So, the immediate aftermath of this intense molecular animation leaves us with two absolutely vital outputs. First, oxygen is released. The oxygen left over from those aggressively split water molecules, it's just pushed out into the atmosphere as a waste product, literally discarded. It's an incredible piece of evolutionary luck that this specific byproduct happens to be exactly what our own respiratory systems evolved to rely on. Meanwhile, that glucose energy flows powerfully through the plant's veins. It doesn't just act as internal food, it's actively converted into cellulose, forming the literal, physical building blocks of the plant's wood, its stems, and its expanding leaves. And this brilliantly illustrates why this matters so much to our everyday survival. When we scale this up, panning out from the micromachinery of a single leaf to sweeping, slow-motion drone shots of vibrant farms and deep forests, we see a pretty profound biological reality. Trees producing the oxygen we breathe, crops growing in farms, kids eating fruits and vegetables.
birds and animals thriving in forests. Every single piece of global biomass is built on this exact foundation. If you trace the origins of the molecules in your own body right now, every single carbon atom making up your DNA, your proteins, your cells, it was at some point pulled directly out of thin air by a plant, running this exact biochemical process. We are, quite literally, constructed from recycled atmospheric gas. How crazy is that? Photosynthesis is the process that powers life on Earth. The sheer scale of this planetary engine is just staggering. Imagine a majestic shot of the Earth from space, covered in these glowing green forests. And it's not just the dense terrestrial forests doing the heavy lifting here. Massive sprawling blooms of marine phytoplankton deep in our oceans are running this identical reaction around the clock. Together, these systems continuously cycle millions of tons of carbon every single day. They stabilize the global climate and constantly regenerate the oxygen-rich atmosphere that sustains virtually all complex life on Earth. It is the absolute bedrock of our global ecosystem.
Which brings us to our final thought. If this microscopic engine powers our entire world, how can we ensure it never stops? Understanding these mechanics, it isn't just about appreciating biology anymore. Today, scientists are actively racing to engineer artificial photosynthesis. They're trying to replicate this plant-level quantum efficiency to generate clean, sustainable energy for human use. It leaves us with a critical challenge for the century ahead, mastering these biological mechanics to build our own energy future, while fiercely protecting the natural emerald engine that already powers our planet.